this morning, Sarah handed me a note given to her by one of the yogis. And it is said in that note that he or she voted for another Dhamma talk to finish up the third sermon. I thought I had no time to talk on the third sermon. So I decided to talk on it at the next retreat in November. But that person wanted to hear that sutta now, and I think it is a good request, because if I talk about it later in November, then the memory of the first two suttas may have faded away from my mind as well as from your mind. And also, if I talked in November, I'll have to talk the whole, to explain the whole sutta. So now I can just refer to the previous suttas in some places. Now this sutta, this discourse, is supposed to be the third discourse of the Buddha. And in this book called The Three Cardinal Discourses of the Buddha, this sutta is included. And with regard to where and to whom this sutta was delivered, the author of this book, Ñāṇamoli, said, the third, the fire sermon, was delivered some months later to an audience of 1,000 ascetics converted from the heaven-bent practice of fire worship. Now, the name of this sutta is taken to be the fire sermon. So not only Ñāṇamoli, but other translators as well called it the fire sermon. But the Pali word or the Pali name does not mean necessarily fire. The Pali name is Ādittapariyāya Sutta. Āditta means burning, not fire. And it implies burning with force or burning fiercely. So we should call it a burning sutta or burning sermon rather than fire sermon. And this sermon was delivered, as he said here, some months later to an audience of 1,000 ascetics. Now, Buddha spent his first vasa at Deer Park, the resort of sages or seers. So there were 5 monks and Buddha at that time. And during that vasa, during that rainy season, 3 months or 4 months, but probably 3 months, because we take rainy season retreat to last for 3 months. So during these 3 months, there are other incidents. Now, after the delivering of the second sutta, one night, a man woke up in his bedroom and saw people lying around, and he got disgusted of them. And so he left his house and ran away from his house, saying, oh, there is so much affliction in the world, there is so much torment in the world. And in the dead of the night, he ran to where the Buddha was, and so he saw the Buddha. Then the Buddha told him that here there is no affliction, there is no torment. And so he sat down and listened to the Buddha. And at the end of the teaching, he became a Sotapanna. Now, what Buddha taught him on that occasion was not recorded. It was just hinted that Buddha taught him about giving dana and purity of moral conduct, dangers in sensual pleasures, advantages in going forth, and also lowness of indulging in sensual pleasures and so on. So, and after that talk, when the man's mind became soft and receptive, then Buddha showed him the Four Noble Truths. That is what the records say. So we don't know what kind of teaching in detail Buddha gave to that man. So he became a Sotapanna, and after becoming a Sotapanna, he asked for ordination and he was ordained. Then in the morning, his father came to that place in search of him, and when he saw the Buddha, he asked him whether the Buddha had seen a young man. Now, the Buddha, it is said in our books that the Buddha hit him, the new monk, by his magic power, and told the old man to sit down, and then he preached to him the same kind of Dhamma. And at the end of that teaching, Yasa, the man who became a monk, his name was Yasa. So Yasa, who was hidden maybe just behind the Buddha, became an arahant, listening to the talk given to his father. And his father became a Sotapanna. So his father went back. Later on, Yasa was shown to his father. And at that time, the father had become a Sotapanna, and so it was all right for him, Yasa being a monk. And so he invited Buddha and Yasa to his house for food. And then the man Yasa had friends, 54 in number. So when they heard that Yasa had become a monk, gone forth, they talked among themselves. If Yasa had gone forth, then that going forth must not be mean, must not be small. It must be great. So they all went to the Buddha, and then Buddha taught them, and they also became arahants. And now there are three occasions, three Dhamma talks. One to Yasa, the second to Yasa's father, and the third to Yasa's friends. But we do not know what talks they are because they are not recorded. So how many arahants were there at that time? 5, 1, 54, 60, plus the Buddha, 61. So there were altogether 61 arahants at that time. And probably after the end of the rainy season, Buddha sent them out to different places to spread his Dhamma. So that was the first missionary activity ever recorded in history. And Buddha said, no two monks must go the same way or the same road. So they had to choose a different road for each of them. So they all went. Then Buddha was alone, and he proceeded towards Gaya, Buddha Gaya, near to the place where he practiced austerities. That is, he proceeded towards the city Rajagaha. That was because soon after his renunciation, he met King Bimbisara, who was a king at Rajagaha. So when King Bimbisara met him, he asked about the Buddha to be, and then Buddha to be told him that he was a prince and he was of Sakya race and so on. Then King Bimbisara offered him half his kingdom, but the Bodhisattva refused, and then said, I did not leave the country or my palace, my parents and so on, to get the half of a kingdom. So I was after another kind of kingdom, and that is to become a Buddha and to help beings save themselves. Then the king said, if you become a Buddha, or after you become the Buddha, please visit me. So he gave that promise. So it was to fulfill that promise that the Buddha went towards Rajagaha. And on his way to Rajagaha, at a place called Gaya, maybe it's near Buddha Gaya, he met 3 groups of ascetics. And all 3 groups are headed by 3 brothers. So the elders and the second brother and the third brother. So the elders had 500 followers, and the second had 300 followers, and the third had 200 followers. So they were fire worshippers. So they may have fire burning all the time, and then they may worship the fire. So Buddha went to them, and to make a long story short, Buddha converted them. So first they came his disciples. And when all of them, because they don't live at one place, they live in different places. So first he met the first group, and next the second group all together, and then the third group. So at the end, all 1,000 ascetics were assembled at a place. So at that assembly, Buddha delivered this discourse. And so it is called Fire Sermon or the Burning Sermon. And this sutta, this discourse is even shorter than the second one. Here, only one sheet, 2 pages. So this sutta begins with, thus I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Gaya. At Gaya Sisa, together with 1,000 bhikkhus. They have already become bhikkhus at that time. There he addressed the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, all is burning. And what is the all that is burning? So Buddha always delivered his teaching, the discourses, to suit the situation of the occasion. So now these monks, although they have become monks and they had been fire worshippers for a long time. So Buddha wanted to teach them to become arahants. And so he began with, all is burning. What is the all that is burning? The I is burning. Forms are burning. I consciousness is burning. Eye contact is burning. Also, whatever is felt as pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant that arises with eye contact for its indispensable condition, that too is burning. Now Buddha said these things are burning. The eye is burning. Now you know what the eye is. It is a sensitive place in the eyeball actually, not the whole flesh eye, but a sensitive place in the eye where the image strikes. So the eye is burning, forms are burning. Forms means visible data, visible objects. Now here, Buddha used the word rupa for visible objects. Now in the previous sutta, you probably noticed that the word rupa was used for all material properties in general. The aggregate of matter or aggregate of corporeality is rupa khanda. So there the word rupa means matter or material properties. But in this sutta, the word rupa means visible object, not all material properties. Now there are visible objects, audible objects, smell, taste, touch, and then the other material properties. according to Abhidhamma, there are 28 material properties, and visible object is only one of them. So you have to be careful when you read books on Buddhism, and also be careful when you translate or when you talk about them. Now, the same word in different contexts mean different things. In one context, the word rupa means all matter in general, and in this sutta and in many suttas like this, the word rupa means the visible object. So forms are burning, or visible objects are burning. I consciousness is burning. I consciousness means consciousness depending for its arising on the I. So actually it is seeing consciousness. So I consciousness is burning, eye contact is burning, and also whatever is felt as pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with eye contact for its indispensable condition, that too is burning. Now, when a visible object comes into the avenue of the eye, then the eye consciousness arises. So for the eye consciousness to arise, we need some conditions. So in this discourse, two conditions are given: the eye and the visible object. If there is no eye, there will be no eye consciousness. And if there is no visible object, there will be no eye consciousness. So for the eye consciousness to arise, these two conditions are indispensable. Actually, there are some other conditions which are necessary for the eye consciousness to arise, and that is light. Although you have eyes, and although there are visible objects, if you are in the dark, then you cannot see anything, and no eye consciousness can arise. So light is also one condition. And the other condition is attention. Only when you have attention do you see. Otherwise, even though visible objects may pass before your eyes, you will not see them. So actually there are four conditions, but only two are mentioned here. So depending on the eye and depending on the visible object, there arises eye consciousness. We do not know, or we cannot say where this eye consciousness is stored. It is not stored anywhere. But when these two come together, the eye and the visible object, consciousness arises. It is like when you strike a match, and you get fire, and you cannot see that fire is stored in the sticks or in the match. If fire is really stored in them, they will be burning. So when these two come together, or you rub these two together, and then the fire arises. So in the same way, eye consciousness or seeing consciousness arises when the eye and the visible object meet together, or when the visible object comes into the avenue of the eye. Now, along with the eye consciousness, there is eye contact. Eye contact means contact depending on the eye. Now, it is important to understand this expression correctly. I have read many translations, and almost every translator got it wrong. Probably because they don't care for the commentary, or they don't happen to read the commentary. Now, in other suttas, Buddha said, Tainang Sangati Passo in Pali. Tainang Sangati Passo. Passo means contact. Taina means of the three. And Sangati, as it stands in that phrase, means coming together or convergence. It is apparently in the nominative case, but in fact we are to understand it to be in the instrumental case or ablative case. You may not remember the cases. So we are to understand that word as meaning not just convergence, but because of the convergence. So literally translated, the phrase means, let me see, the coincidence of the three is contact. Coming together of the three or convergence of the three is contact. But according to Abhidhamma, contact is a separate mental factor. It is a separate mental factor like attachment, like mindfulness, or like wisdom. It is a separate mental factor. So, if you say the coincidence of the three is contact, then there is no contact to speak about. Just the coming together of the three is contact. And that is not correct, according to Abhidhamma. Because contact is that which arises owing to the coincidence of these three. When there are these three, contact also arises. It is something like, say, when you put three balls, say, together, and there is a sound. So the sound comes out of the convergence of the three balls. So the sound is a separate entity, not the balls and not the convergence, but something that comes out of the convergence. So in the same way, contact is not the eye, not the visible object, not the eye consciousness, and not their mere convergence, but something that arises out of the convergence of three. So that is to be understood very properly, because many people, many authors, either didn't want to follow the commentary, or they may not have met the commentary explanation. Now, what is a problem with people, say, who want to study a sutta and then pick up a sutta from the book and then study with the commentary? Now, when the commentators wrote the commentaries, then they have to take the whole collection as a whole. Say, let's say there are different kinds of collections, a collection of long suttas, collection of middle-length suttas, and so on. So when they wrote commentaries, then they gave explanations of words or phrases or whatever in the suttas. Then, if the same word or the same expression appears in another sutta, later sutta, they will not give the explanation of that word or that phrase. Because if they have to do that, then it would be a very tedious work. And so to save, say, space and energy, they will not repeat the explanations. So they will just say, it has been commented before. And they did not say when or where. That is the problem with Pali commentaries. They did not even say, I have commented this in a certain sutta. They didn't say that. They just say, it has been commented before. And you have to go back the whole Nikaya, the whole collection. So if this word this phrase, Tena Sangati Phaso, appears in a previous sutta, and you are studying this sutta, then you will not see the explanation of that phrase in this, the commentary to this sutta. So sometimes the authors or translators may miss that. If they pick up only one sutta and write something about that sutta. If they have comments from the beginning, it may be correct. So eye contact is burning. Eye contact which arises out of the coincidence of three is burning, and also whatever is felt. That means contingent upon contact, there is feeling. If there is no contact, there can be no feeling. So when you see something, there is a feeling, pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling or neutral feeling. So either one of these three feelings arises together with contact or depending upon contact. So here it is said, arises with eye contact for its indispensable condition. When there is no eye contact, there can be no eye contact feeling born of eye contact. So how many things do we get here? The eye, the forms, eye consciousness, eye contact, and feeling, these five. So Buddha said, these are burning. These are burning at the moment we see something. Burning with what? Burning with the fire of lust, with the fire of hate, with the fire of delusion. Sometimes we have the fire of lust or attachment, lobha. Sometimes we have the fire of dosa, anger or hate. We see something we don't want to see and we have anger. And we see something we like to see and we are attached. And whenever there is lust or hate, there is always delusion or ignorance with it. Because ignorance always accompanies lust or hate. So if we see something and we have attachment to it, or if we see something and we have ill will towards it, then we are really burning at that time. Burning with lust and delusion, or burning with hate and delusion. So our eyes are burning at that time. I say it is burning with birth, aging, and death. And it is also burning with coming into being, and then burning with aging, and burning with dissolution or death. Burning with sorrows, with lamentations, with pains, with griefs, with despairs. So these are the fires which are burning at the moment of the arising of eye consciousness. Now, how many fires do you get from this sutta? You don't count them. Burning with lust, with hate, with delusion, with birth, with aging, with death, with sorrows, with lamentations, with pains, with griefs, with despairs. How many? 11. So these came to be known as 11 fires. So whenever we want to say, describe Nibbana as the extinction of fires, we say Nibbana, the extinction of 11 kinds of fires. So these are the 11 kinds of fires with which we are burning, say, almost all the time. Now, burning with lust, hate, and delusion, we may be able to avoid at some time, right? You practice meditation and you don't get akusala with regard to what you see or what you hear and so on. So we may not be burning at some time with the fire of lust, with the fire of hate, with the fire of delusion. But what about the fire of birth, aging, and death? We cannot avoid them. Yes. How many? 11. So these came to be known as 11 fires. So whenever we want to say, describe Nibbana as the extinction of fires. We say Nibbana, the extinction of 11 kinds of fires. So these are the 11 kinds of fires with which we are burning, say, almost all the time. Now, burning with lust, hate, and delusion, we may be able to avoid at some time, right? You practice meditation and you don't get akusala with regard to what you see or what you hear and so on. So we may not be burning at some time with the fire of lust, with the fire of hate, with the fire of delusion. But what about the fire of birth, aging, and death? We cannot avoid them. When the I consciousness arises, there is the arising of I consciousness, and then continuation of I consciousness, which is called aging here, and then disappearance of I consciousness. So that we cannot avoid. So we are always burning with the fires of birth, aging, and death. And sometimes we will be burning with sorrows, lamentations, pains, griefs, and despairs. So we are always burning with many of these fires at any given moment. If you understand this, then you will understand the other places of burning. The ear is burning, sounds are burning, then ear consciousness is burning, ear contact is burning, and feeling born out of ear contact is burning. So there is the ear and there is a sound. When sound comes into the avenue of our ears, then there is hearing consciousness. We call it ear consciousness. And there is contact. And contingent upon contact, there is feeling. The same, pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And these are burning. Burning with what? Burning with lust, burning with hate, burning with delusion, and so on. In this case also, if we are mindful and we make notes and we are not attached to the sound or not averse to the sound, then we may be able to avoid burning with lust, hate, and delusion. But with birth, aging, and death, we cannot. Then the nose is burning, odors are burning, and so on. The tongue is burning, the flavors or the tastes are burning, and so on. The body is burning, the tangibles are burning, and so on. So the body means actually the body sensitivity. Now, it is said that body sensitivity spreads all through the body except at the tip of nails and the tip of the hairs, where there is no sense of touch. So the body is burning. The tangibles means those that can be touched. Tangibles are burning. Then body consciousness is burning. We have the body consciousness. Sometimes we have painful body consciousness, sometimes happy body consciousness. And then there is contact and there is feeling. So all these are burning with lust and so on. Then the mind is burning, ideas are burning, mind consciousness is burning, mind contact is burning. Also, whatever is felt as pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with mind contact for its indispensable condition, that too is burning. Now, the mind is burning. Ideas are burning. Ideas mean the objects which are taken by mind, not by seeing consciousness and so on, but by other kinds of consciousness. So the ideas are burning, or we can say Dhamma objects are burning. They are sometimes visible objects of the past. When they are not present, but we see some objects in the past in our mind. So you think of something back home, and that is the past object for you, because the present object is just here. So those are called Dhamma objects. And here it is translated as ideas. So ideas are burning, mind consciousness is burning, that means there are different kinds of consciousness, say eye consciousness, ear consciousness, and so on. So the consciousness which is not eye consciousness, ear, nose, tongue, or body consciousness is called mind consciousness. And then there is also contact, mind contact, and the feeling born out of mind contact. So these five are burning, and burning with what? Burning with the fire of lust and so on. Now, did you notice that in this sutta, Buddha gave a different analysis of the Dhammas? In the first sutta, Buddha gave five aggregates of clinging, right? The first noble truth is the five aggregates of clinging. Buddha even did not bother to give us the names of these five. He just said the five aggregates of clinging are suffering. So we have to fill in the names of the aggregates. But in the second sutta, Buddha took these five aggregates one by one, right? Rupa is not atta, feeling is not atta, and so on. Now in this sutta, Buddha analyzed the same five aggregates into what we call the bases. That means basis for contact or whatever. So here Buddha analyzes them into 12 actually. 12, we call 12 bases. That is the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. And then sights, sounds, odors, taste, and touch, and Dhamma objects. So the six beginning with the eye are called internal bases. And the six beginning with visible objects are called external bases. So 6 internal and 6 external bases constitute what we call the 12 bases. So the phenomena are analyzed in different ways in different discourses in the teachings of the Buddha. So in this sutta, in this very short, small sutta, they are analyzed into the 12 bases. So the analysis in this sutta is more comprehensive and more detailed than that in the previous suttas. That is the only difference. The others are just the same as in the second sutta. Bhikkhu, when a noble follower who had heard the truth sees thus, he finds estrangement in the eye, finds estrangement in forms, and so on. This is more or less the same passage that appears in the second sutta. Finds estrangement in the eye consciousness, finds estrangement in eye contact, and whatever is felt as pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant that arises with eye contact for its indispensable condition, in that too he finds estrangement. That means he gets wearied with the eye, the visible object, eye consciousness, all these five. So he gets wearied with all these. And to get wearied with all these, he must practice vipassana meditation. He must watch as they arise. He must observe as they arise. And only by constant watching, constant observation, can he see their impermanence, their suffering, and their soulless nature. And only when he sees these three characteristics will he become wearied with these bases. So this passage and the following passage explains actually the practice of vipassana meditation leading up to the enlightenment stage. So he finds estrangement in ear and so on. And then when he finds estrangement, passion fades out. So he reaches a stage of enlightenment or magga. With the fading of passion, he is liberated. When he is liberated, he is already at the stage of fruition. When liberated, there is knowledge that he is liberated. So after liberation, after the fruition period, he reflects upon his attainment of enlightenment and on fruition, on nibbana, on defilements eradicated, and on defilements which are left uneradicated. And he understands thus, but is exhausted. That means he has reached the fourth stage of enlightenment, which is arahantship. So his birth is exhausted, the holy life has been lived out. What can be done is done. Of this there is no more beyond. So this is how he understands. And that is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were glad and they approved his words. Now during this utterance, the hearts of those 1,000 bhikkhus were liberated from chains through clinging no more. So at the end of this this discourse, all the 1,000 bhikkhus became arahants. So actually in this sutta, Buddha taught the same thing as in other suttas, and especially in the second sutta. But there Buddha said this rupa is impermanent, rupa is not self, vedana is not self, and so on. But here Buddha said the eye is burning, the ear is burning, and so on. When they are burning, they are really dukkha. There can be no sukha when you are burning. So when the Buddha said the eye is burning and the visible objects are burning, then he virtually says that they are suffering and they are impermanent. So after burning there will be no more of them. So there is impermanence and there is burning or affliction or dukkha. And nobody can turn this dukkha into sukha. Nobody can avoid suffering dukkha. And so there is the meaning of anatta. There is the sense of not being able to exercise any power or any authority over them. And that is anatta. So when Buddha said, these are burning, he virtually said that these are impermanent, these are painful, and these are not self. Or they have no core, or you cannot exercise any power over them. So you have no control over them. So in fact, the Buddha taught the same thing in this sutta as in the previous sutta. And that is why Nyanamoli said in his introduction. The third echoes the second from another angle. So this is the third sermon, the sermon of burning. And here Buddha said everything is burning. So in the mundane world, there are only these 12 bases. And when all these 12 bases are said to be burning, then the whole world is said to be burning. So everything we see, everything we hear, and also our experience, everything is burning. Burning with some of or many of the fires described in this sutta. So when we see something, now Buddha just said they are burning, but Buddha did not expressly say that you must avoid burning, or you must try not to get burned. Now, every statement made by the Buddha brings with it an injunction. Although the injunction is not expressly said, we are to understand that it contains an injunction. So when Buddha said the eye is burning, then the injunction is don't let your eye burn. So try to avoid burning at your eye, at your ear, and so on. So every piece of advice Buddha gave has this injunction adherent in it. And this is one way of understanding the teachings of the Buddha. Although the injunction may not be said in words, we have to understand that it is inherent in this statement. So when Buddha said, in this order, Buddha did not say that we must stop the burning or whatever, but he just said that the eye is burning, forms are burning, and so on. And then he said, when a noble follower sees thus, he finds estrangement in the eye. So that means you must try, you must practice meditation to get estrangement in the eye and so on. And therefore, by this order, Buddha advised the disciples to practice something, and that something is vipassana meditation, so that they become estranged in the eye and so on, or they become wearied with the eye and so on. So in order to get wearied with eye and so on, first they must see the eye and other things really burning with lust, hatred, delusion, and other fires. So in order to see them really burning, then the disciples need to watch them, to pay attention to them. If they did not watch them, or if they did not pay attention to them, they will not even see these things, let alone seeing them burning and so on. So it amounts to saying that you must practice Satipatthana, mindfulness meditation or Vipassana meditation to see them clearly and to see them burning with lust, hatred, delusion, and others. And when you really see them as burning, really see them as burning, then you will get dispassion towards them. And then it will lead you to further progress in meditation. And when the factors of path reach maturity, then they will give rise to the next moment, which is the enlightenment moment, which is the real path. And so after reaching the path, one is sure to reach the final extinction of suffering, which is Nibbana. So although delivered in different words, these three suttas taught us the same thing. That is, to get wearied with what we experience, what we have, and to get free from the round of rebirth, to get free from the mental defilements which causes the round of rebirth go on and on and on. So to get free from mental defilements and ultimately to get free from round of rebirth and to reach the state of cessation of all suffering. Okay, by paying attention to the fire sermon, will we all be able to see the eye, the visible objects, the eye consciousness, eye contact, and feeling born of eye contact as really burning, and may we be able to get wearied of these things and ultimately be able to attain the final extinction of suffering, which is eternal bliss, which is Nibbana.